probation was open to everybody. You can come without having a name or coming from a family, and that was quite peculiar in this era, in the ancient time, because as an individual you didn't have a real identity. You belonged to your clan, to your family. Whenever you entered a place, you had to mention who were your parents, your grandparents, what was the area, the clan that gave you an identity. And this was not the case with Pythagoras. He opened the gates, the outside gates of his school to anyone that presented him or herself spontaneously, walking without being backed up by any precept of society. But he had to prove that he had some inner knowledge that he had already worked on his own. And he tested probationists on 3 areas that included the knowledge of mathematics, mostly in 2 branches, of geometry, of the bodies, and the knowledge of numbers, of arithmetics. The second branch of test was in the area of music and harmonics. And the third test was in the area of the moving bodies in the skies, astronomy. And he considered astronomy a fusion of geometry and music. And he was referring to the harmony in the movement of the spherical bodies in the sky. And he coined the term the music of the spheres. So you have to go through difficult tests in these 3 areas to be accepted as a probationist. And once you were inside the school, it took 5 years of a very severe practice to enter the inner core and to become a real student inside the inner core of fellowships that was part of this initiation school. So anybody could apply, but not everybody could obtain the entrance to this hierarchy of teachers and pupils. This deep training for 5 years include, of course, studying, but it's not in the same way that we understand studying today. Today we sit and we get our knowledge from books which have already been printed, and the knowledge in itself is closed. Pythagoras had an open source of knowledge because he was learning through insight by observation of everything that exists. So let's suppose he was trying to study the healing properties of nature. He would go out with his students to the fields, study a plant, a certain aspect of nature represented by a certain kind of plant, and he would first study it by its physical properties. He would look at it, he would draw it, he would paint it, he would look all the details of the branching, he could, through the details, understand in the properties of the color, the energies that this plant was radiating. He would look at the patterns of the branching and look the way the this particular plant was expressing the numbers and the arithmetics as part of the mind of the great creator. And then he would look at the surrounding, he would understand what insects came near the plant, what animals ate it, and why and when the plant had seeds. He would look inside the seeds and look at the geometry and the symmetry that the seed was expressing. He would look at the roots. He would understand all the physical properties in this dimension that the plant was expressing as a branch of the mind of the creator. And through this deep understanding of the properties in this dimension, he could then start to gain an inner connection with the soul property of the plant. He could get in touch with the divinity that the plant was expressing and have an open access to the library held in this particular plant. He will have an open access to the source through this particular expression that materializes itself as a plant. So through observations, he went through the particularities in this dimension deeper inside through a path of understanding how the sacred science of number, color, sound, geometry expressed in a single plant to reach the universal concept of the oneness of everything that exists. And when he walked that path, the inner magical properties of the plant were open to him as per communion of divinity in the soul of the plant and the soul of the human being. This is the path he taught his pupils, and this is the path he used to understand everything that existed. So nature, creation, was an open book that was ever perpetuating and ever in communion with his understanding through the use of observation and communing with the divine aspect of whatever he was studying. This is what he taught his students, and this is how he used the creation as a whole to get in communion with the spirit of divinity impressed in each particular pattern. We'll continue in the next video to speak about his social experience in this area of the world, in the area of Croton. See you in the next episode.